Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the show. It is True Detective Season 3, Episode 3. This one is huge. It's called The Big Never. I can't wait to talk about this with you guys. There are so many crazy things. Who knew? Dungeons and Dragons. So much to talk about. I'll see you guys in just one quick second.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Oh, it gets me every time with that.
T-Bone
Burnett.
T-Bone Burnett.
Yeah.
So groovy.
We should do a group cover maybe of a T-Bone Burnett song by the end of this. We were just talking about music.
Oh, yeah, you guys are both musicians, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
We can make it work. We're all musicians here.
Yeah.
We can all sing. And
I can do like a sing-talk thing down here. That's about all I can do.
So, we're talking music, we're talking T-Bone Burnett, we're talking True Detective, and we're here at AfterBuzz TV. It's crazily enough, with this show, True Detective, this is the third episode. We are almost halfway through the season already. It's so wild, so different than Network. Like,
Oh, yeah.
It's so different.
I don't know if I could take much more than what they give us, though. It's a lot.
It's just right, yeah.
Yeah, perfect amount.
The smolder is perfect. Guys, we're back. I got the full panel fully returning. I got the True Detective Season 1 and 2 team. I got my preacher teammate here. We're going to start right here. Nate Miller, how you doing?
What's going on, guys? I'm doing good.
Yeah, how was your first reaction to this episode? What do you think?
I liked it a lot. We're kind of picking up a little bit of steam. Things are moving a little bit forward. And again, more just like really consistent performances of these like really great characters. I'm just really enjoying the building of those characters.
Excellent. You're in the chat here, right? You can see.
I am here in the chat. If you've got any questions, comments, we make mistakes, and you want to yell at us,
yeah,
I'll be responding.
Let's keep the chat going. Exciting. Going down the line, we got Julia Cearley. She's back. How you feeling? How did you like the episode? What do you think?
Love the episode. I agree with Nate here. We're picking up some steam, and we're definitely unpacking who these characters are a little bit more. Deeply flawed, but with great intentions, and I'm loving every second of it.
Yeah.
I'm in, and I have all my fluids.
Flippo. This side of the table is falling asleep straight up, so we got multiple Uptime drinks. Proudly sponsored AfterBuzz TV. Actually,
that stuff works.
You're a voiceover guy. You want to do an Uptime ad for us?
Yeah. What time is it? It's Uptime.
There we go.
This stuff is real, dude, by the way. Half of one of these, I feel fantastic.
I started reaching for my wallet when you said that. You're so good at that.
You can just spend it all out, right? Go.
Yeah.
I like the episode. I think it's great. I think I've decided that Old Hayes is my favorite Hayes. I think he's... That whole thing with what I told you put me in a home, I'll off myself.
Yeah.
I was like, yes, tell him. I think it's great, and that the dynamics are growing between the characters. We're getting to see more and more, and they're starting to have a little fun.
Yeah.
Which I don't think we had much of for the first two episodes.
He's literally every single child's nightmare what their parent would be, and he is every person's vision of what they will be.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah, he's like,
that's
line,
exactly right.
That line is like, we all want to say that line someday, have the balls to say it to your kid, but like, yeah, I mean... I don't know.
No, you're 1,000% right. We're like, no, I'm not doing that, but you, Dad, you're going to do that.
I also love, like, he's got, like, this is really interesting. He has that line where he's talking to the doctor in that scene, and he's like, I know my son loves me, doctor, but thanks for walking me through that.
That's fucking awesome.
What's funny about that line, what I loved so much about it, was the doctor says that, and my initial instinct was like, kind of like a weird and inappropriate thing to say to this guy. Like, you don't really know these guys. Like, you know your son loves you. Well, like, I don't know. Love's pretty complicated. What if he, like, doesn't really love him? What if they have real issues? And it's like, you're saying that. And then he's like, he responds to him quite literally. You know? Like, he's like, I know what's going on. You don't have to talk to me about my relationship with my kid. It has nothing to do with my sickness.
I think the best part about getting to be old, I'm looking forward to, is being able to say whatever the hell you want. And it doesn't matter. And I that's one of the things that they write for Hayes, I think, which is great. Like, Old Hayes says what he feels like saying, and that's it. And the other two are contained, or, you know, a little bit by power structures and whatever's going on. But Old Hayes is like, nah, I don't care. I'll say whatever.
So, good episode. I think my thoughts are it's starting to pick up right at the point that I think it needs to. I think with this show, what I've noticed, and a lot of these shows that have 8 episodes, 3 is a really important pivot point. Because if it doesn't start to really like roll downhill at 3, then you're struggling. Because then you're looking for way too much at the turn, right? Like 3 is exactly gives you the feeling that you have a lot of show left still. Yeah. So now you're invested, right?
Well, I mean, we spoke about directors last time, and I think it's worth noting that Daniel Sackheim directed this episode, who's also the guy who directed the last 3 episodes.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, I think that there's a reason for that, and I think that we kind of felt that we're getting a lot of the seeds in this episode that are going to lead us toward the end.
So one of the things they employ really well, and I think we'll jump around a little bit as far as the topics themselves go, but one of the things that I love is you get the same payoff you got in the first season, where eventually you see Marty and Russ meet back up. And I think in that show it's a little later in the season, but like it's a nice payoff in this one. You see them at the bar and you see that rapport come back. And you, even though you haven't totally gotten into the real meat of the case in 1980, you still get the feeling they went through something really important together. You know, they had some really like significant times together. So that ability to like kind of give each other shit, and like be kind of like just you're like drunk in the middle of the afternoon, and he's helped this other guy get clean, so he's got his shit together way more than you at this point. But there's still a mutual respect of like, you've come to this bar to find me. I appreciate that. I'll give you some shit, but I still want to work with you. And he's like, you're a drunk at a bar, but I still want to work with you because I know you're a damn good cop. I love that.
I'm really happy to be finally introduced to 1990 Roland West, because we've had a lot of Hayes in all three different time periods, and I'm really understanding his transition through these decades. But I was really kind of wondering what's going on with West. They've alluded to him here and there, and to finally see him, see what he's accomplished. Am I mistaken? We haven't seen him in 2015 yet, though, right?
No, I don't think so.
Okay,
No.
so that's another present that's still to come to see what's become of him.
I gotta say, I love a wig-free Stephen Dorff. It makes me tremendously happy.
I mean,
I don't like the wicked Stephen Dorff. The wicked
dwarf.
the wicked Dorff.
Wicked Dorff of the West.
Wicked Dorff of the West. And I love that he was rocking the Pontiac, the IROC Firebird.
Yeah, that's a good car. That's a
Damn
good car.
right, man.
I mean, he's a badass.
Absolutely.
Can he ever do anything that's not just a little bit badass?
Nah, because he's got some
he's
stank
Stephen
on him.
Dorff.
Yeah, he's just born with stank.
Got a little swag.
I mean, he was a young hotshot vampire, you know?
Sure was.
From here on out, everything.
I wonder if we're gonna get through an episode without referencing Blade.
I don't think anybody having a conversation about this show and Stephen Dorff will ever not reference Deacon Frost.
I think that's why he did this show, so that after this he can start doing more things and people can be like, oh, he's that guy from True Detective instead of
it'll
the
flip
guy from Blade. Yeah.
It'll flip. I got you.
I mean, so far he's given a killer performance.
The question
I
is,
agree.
what's the most memorable part? Is it him as a character, or is it the Snipes line, some motherfuckers
Doesn't
always
matter.
trying to ice skate up here? It's one of those two things. I'm not sure which one it is, but they're both great. So,
Okay, so like you said, we weren't sure. I was not even sure that they were going. I didn't think that they were gonna reconnect. And I thought that we were only gonna get the two of them in the 1980 timeline. So I was really pleasantly surprised when he walked in and was like, "Oh, by the way, I'm starting a task force." I was like, "Hell yeah!"
And I'm a lieutenant.
Yeah, and I mean, and like you said, seeing him, like obviously we saw him with the guy with Tony going back, to tell him the news that his daughter might be alive. Which
is it Tony or Tom?
Tom. Sorry.
Right. Yeah.
Mr. Purcell.
Yep, Mr. Purcell.
And yeah, I mean, clearly, even just from looks alone, you can tell that he has changed a lot from when we saw him in 1980. He's
Tom.
Now,
that was a stark contrast.
Yes.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said that he was sober for 5 years. We find out that Lucy died.
Yeah.
In Vegas.
Yeah, in 1988.
Fill in the blanks.
Yeah. So there's a lot of information that we got there, but also even from Roland's perspective too, seeing how much that he has changed as well, and he's very clean where we see him now, much more put together than in the 1980 timeline, and also he's got this job and this authority. We see that he's been recognized for his work.
And you start to, so there's some things mentioned here in the scene. So the first one I want to talk about is before we go into that bar interaction. It's a big part of the show. Is that you're talking about when he goes to see Tom in the trailer. It's kind of a trailer. It's like a really nice trailer.
It's
Right?
really nice inside.
trailer.
Yeah,
It's a huge kitchen.
It's like a fancy trailer. And he says 5 years ago I got sober and it was you that helped me. And you're like, okay, so you were working on this case. Somewhere along the line develops a relationship that's important between the two of you guys beyond what we're seeing so far.
Yes.
And on top of that, somewhere along the line is he there was something crazy that happened that we're gonna have to witness that gets him to this point, right? Like he looks like he's a totally changed person. Right, and in some way, Stephen Dorff felt the need to invest, and also there's a line that Mahershala says, "If I had taken a bullet, I'd be playing golf."
Yeah.
Yes.
So somewhere along the
calling
lines,
my friends.
in this first,
Roland gets shot somewhere
yes, somewhere in the 1980
Yes.
timeline, the Steve McQueen dying timeline,
between 1980 to 1990. He gets shot.
he gets shot, and that's a thing that we're going to witness. And so I'm curious what's going to happen there. Now, another thing I wanted to bring up is, and this is really distinctly different in this season than what we've seen before. Season 1 has 2 white detectives, right? Season 2 has 4 white detectives. This is the first time you're seeing any reference to race within the 2 main characters, And it's referenced in the first episode. We didn't talk about it when he says the line about talk to them. They're your tribe, right? It's a super significant difference in the way that they're treating the people they're interacting with. Like, even though you can tell in the first timeline, Mahershala is clearly more qualified as a cop. He's way better at his job, right? He's a tracker. He's super smart. He's doing everything.
And saner, it seems.
I mean, I don't want to say that because, I mean, based on what we've seen already, I feel like I don't think Hayes would be a really effective cop on his own. He needs Roland to kind of like pull him down to earth, and like Roland is the one who is like talking to people and like empathizing with people, and that's why he forms that relationship with the dad. Whereas Hayes is more of a factual. He's the hunter. This is what we got to do. It may like he's much more abrasive, much less sensitive when he's dealing with people.
Might be worth considering that the reason for that dynamic is because of where they are and when they are. In the 1980s in the Ozarks,
of course.
I mean, are you going to get more mileage as a cop trying to get your witnesses to talk, whatever you need, by having the white cop talk to the white folks?
Well, there's that moment in the bar
reality.
that we talked about in last episode that we just did, where he's talking to Amelia. He goes, "How is it for you?" No, really, how is it for you? Talking about being a person of color in this small rural town in that time.
Yeah.
I mean, there's that difference, and then even as we find out at the bar later, he's when he tells him, "Why didn't you tell him you were fixing up Jeeps while we were getting shot at?" Also, the dichotomy of the experiences that they had coming back from the war. One of them was in a much more dark, gritty situation than the other one. So they have there's a lot of different things at play at two of them that make them this great combination, which is why I think they're going to be able to break on this case that a lot of people wouldn't be able to.
I don't think that they could exist without each other because of their separate skill sets that make each other stronger.
Exactly.
But when it comes time in that day and age for a promotion, perhaps yes, he was overlooked because of the pigmentation of his skin, which he brings up.
He also makes a comment too about being a big mouth.
Big mouth. He said something at some point. We haven't seen it yet. But he's got to come out.
He's drinking a lot.
Well, even
a lot of drinking going on.
Yeah. Well, we find out that he's not a detective anymore. Hayes has been working a desk job, which is, I mean, it's implied that it's like a demotion, and even with his demeanor in his initial sit down, it doesn't seem like his relationship with the rest of the law enforcement is very good. Like he definitely feels like he was screwed over, and so then to see Roland on the other side, not only still a detective, but then to get promoted to a lieutenant of the state police and now to lead a task force. It's just a really interesting...
But he seems to understand, too, because in his interviews that he says to them, pardon my language, but he says, you really fucked over a good detective.
Yeah.
Or something along those lines. Like, he knows that they were possibly both deserving or they should both be on the same level.
Oh, yeah.
But he knows it, and he's not afraid to say it because that's his friend. And then he says, when we stopped working together, we stopped working, which makes me... informs to me that they can't really exist without each other.
Yeah, he says, once we stopped working together, we just stopped.
Yes, that's it. You're right.
I think there's also, and you see this a lot with writers that kind of work in like darker spaces, but there's a commentary on addiction here, right? Like it's clear between the two characters. Yeah. You're seeing one character who is a mess, who gets clean, and all of a sudden just his face looks better, his whole situation, right? He's doing his thing, and you look at Hayes. And it kind of seems like there was a point in this story where he's kind of the hot shit guy. He's the one who discovers the body. He's the one who's making the big breaks on the case. And it's kind of going downhill as he's drinking more and more. So you pick back up in 1990, and at that moment, you've got this guy who was a mess who's gotten clean, and now he's doing it. And the other guy is kind of falling off a cliff. He's drinking at noon at a bar. And I think it's important to remember because it's a definite commentary that you're seeing here, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see more of it.
And remember that that scene takes place after the whole Walmart fiasco too, so it's and he also has this disagreement with Amelia when she comes home. Then I mean I think he had a reason to be upset, but there's clearly something else that was playing there, and that's why he reacted in that way.
Yeah.
And so it's more than just the drinking, like it's affecting all parts of his life. It's like almost consuming him.
Again, back to their drinking and to harken back again to that meeting in the bar between he and Amelia, she asks him point blank, "Do you drink a lot?" And he says something like twice or 2 times or 3 times a month I get drunk because I like to laugh, which I thought was kind of comical. It's like, you do?
We haven't seen that yet.
You like to laugh?
Right.
And also to anyone who drinks, if you like, does he mean he gets hammered 3 times a month?
Right.
Or does he mean that he has drinks 3 times a month? from what we're seeing in the amount that he drinks, it seems like he means he drinks every night, but he gets drunk 3 times.
I feel like a lot of that though came after this case.
Maybe,
because
yeah.
if you look at a lot of how he acts in the 1980 scene, it doesn't. He's just much more put together. And he just seems much more frantic in the 1980s, and then in the 2015, obviously he's much more apart because he's.
And you wonder when his mind started to break.
They also didn't say what the disease was.
We can say quite almost certainly what you have.
Yeah, Alzheimer's disease. Got dementia, and Alzheimer's, obviously, right? You would think, right?
I would think so.
That seems like the implication. They did take a CT scan.
I like very much what you said about addiction, because I think we're one of the things we're overlooking in this show is that everybody's smoking all the goddamn
all
time.
the time.
Yeah.
And it's so jarring now, to me anyway, because it's just not. It's not. When we were kids growing up, everybody smoked on TV, because not because necessarily everybody's addicted or the characters. It wasn't even a thought of the character. It just something to do with your hand and it looked cool. So, and it's neat now to see, like, now if you're smoking on TV, it's a choice.
Yeah.
Why are we doing it? We're doing it for a particular character choice, and it's a real thing. And it's funny, that scene with Tom, right? I'm clean and sober for 5 years, and he's smoking a cigarette and pouring himself a cup of coffee. Like, all right, well, you still got your hooks.
We got our vices.
I think to a degree, like also just because of the reality, I think often we're going to see that just because a lot of people were smoking at the time. Like, it's
way more.
weird
Yes.
to
and
not.
It's the same. I mean, that's kind of the same point about the dealing with race in the show, right? It's just the time thing. It's
Right.
1980. So I want to talk about the relationship between Hayes and Amelia. I think it's important. But before we get there, that's the next topic. I want to remind everybody here that we are the ESPN of TV Talk. We have been. We're very thankful for you guys continuing to make us the ESPN of TV Talk. We cover almost every show on TV. It's over like 150 shows that are covered on AfterBuzz, been around forever. Big thanks to Maria and Keven for starting this thing for us and giving us a place to talk about television. If you want to help us out, give us a rating and a review on iTunes. Just leave us a review. Write your thoughts. 5 stars. It helps us stay high in the standings so people can find the show. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, comment. We'll share your thoughts next week on the show. Thank you guys so much for listening and watching to AfterBuzz. Let's go. All right, so their relationship. Something super interesting happened in this episode, and it was that she comes home, she's drunk, she's talked to this cop, she's gotten dinner with him, and she's doing exactly what she told him she might do in the car, right? She's going to get all gussied up, she's going to go ask questions, and he's like resisting to her involvement, right? And it seems like early you don't really catch that maybe he wasn't that thrilled about the fact that she got involved in this stuff. She's kind of pushing her way in, right? Like she helps him get the break in the first place in 1980, right? She finds the thing about the doll, but then she's writing these books and she's sitting with him and it's like she's pretty good at this stuff, but she wants to write books. She's not a cop. That's what she's doing, right? She's doing something else.
But she's glamorizing it and she's thriving on it, and it makes her like sexuality come out a little bit, and she gets to be something she's never been before and be gregarious and not wear a bra and like have her hair down and all flirty with the detectives and go out to dinner and have drinks with them. I was like, oh, okay, Amelia. That's what we're doing.
It was straight up jarring to me. Like, it must have been cold in the detective's office, man. My goodness.
The nipples? Oh, yeah.
Gee whiz.
Definitely.
And what a choice. I mean, like, it's such a
choice.
specific choice.
She got what she wanted.
Right? But I don't know. I wonder how much of his frustration with that particular with that particular scene, I guess, is the way she went about it versus her involvement. And then at the end of it, when she came back drunk, that I mean...
We can all relate to that, right? We've all had somebody come back and you're kind of serious, you've been worrying about something, like you feel like they've dropped the ball, even if it's like you knew they were going to, and you're worried and they come in, they're in kind of a good mood, and you're like, shut up, stop being drunk.
Right? Stop being
this.
happy and drunk and confident, and I'm shitty.
Well, I think even deeper than that, too, I think this is a really, I don't know if this is intentional, but I see it almost as like a similar metaphor to the... experience that the viewer has, where like for us, all these clues and finding the body and all this stuff, it's exciting. There's all these things going on. Whereas for him, he found the body. He took the pictures. He looked for the girl. He tracked the clues. A bunch of other stuff has happened too, which apparently is really bad, and he wants to block out and forget. So for him, it's a much different experience. So for her to be having fun or like drunk and and she's like enjoying the moment because she's doing this investigating thing, and for him he's not enjoying it. This is something he has to do because it's tearing him apart inside.
Right.
I agree completely.
It's keeping him up. So for him, I think it's a lot of that other stuff, but I think at its core it's this kind of like two completely different sides of the same coin.
Completely
I agree
agree.
completely.
And that's why I think he says, don't talk to me about this shit. And she says, I'm talking like that, and he says, or, you can say it. And he says, it's been said or whatever. Like, that's why his approach is bad, but his point is sound, which is like, you're using this to write a book. Even if it's creative, you're like profiting off of the situation in some way.
This is a lark for you, and for me, this is deadly serious.
This is my job that I hate, but it's like eating me up, and I'm sitting here. And who just drinks straight Jack Daniels? I mean, I gotta say,
I've done it.
I mean, I've done it. Don't get me wrong.
Well, before I
done it.
Let me ask you guys
discovered
this.
what good whiskey was.
Yeah, like anything other than Jack Daniels. I mean, that's rough stuff. No
22.
ice.
Do you guys
He
think
was at
Amelia's...
Costco. It was on, or no, it was at
Do you guys think Amelia might be making more money at this point? I mean, it seems to me if she's publishing books...
Well, this is her first.
Is this her first?
Yeah, so I don't
Okay.
think she. Well, now she's amending it because now Julie might
Is
still
it her
out be
first?
out
She
there.
Is it her
tells the
first or is it-
cops that she's done a couple books.
Oh, really?
Does she?
I always wondered.
Oh, I
'cause,
thought
as
that was
soon as
her first, and then 6 more came out. I
that-
could be wrong.
It could be.
Chat room, tell us.
That's an always interesting thing to find out. If when your relationship, the money changes in the relationship, the dynamic changes.
Right.
So if that's part of it too, then that could be playing into it.
Yeah, it's true.
If all of a sudden she's making a whole bunch of money and he's been demoted and riding a desk for the last 10 years, and
Yeah.
yeah.
And again, you see him sitting there just drinking straight Jack, which is like, it's the dynamic
Just
is
funny
changing.
when he's so pissed at her for being drunk. He's obviously drunk, just sitting there getting drunk.
Sitting there getting drunk, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
but they're drunk for different reasons. One was fun and frivolous, and one was to drown your sorrows.
Also, that part of their relationship was, I thought, very relatable to a lot of people. Like, that interaction is an interaction.
Oh, God, yes.
Whether or not there's alcohol involved, I think most of us have had an interaction like that at one time or another, which I always like when scenes like that get written because they hit home.
Yeah, it
They
was
do.
really real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, super real. And it was, you're like, he's angry at all these different things, and it's coming out in this way.
and
It's
he's
kind
just
of
lashing
ugly.
out at her, yeah. And you see that she, like, even for a while, she loves him and knows him so well that she kind of, like, tries to play it off and then eventually realizes, like, no, this is where we're at. We're angry now. And she's like, all right, cool. Fuck
Do you guys think she's justified in, like, flirting with cops and then even going to the point of having dinner with a cop?
Well, this is always a thing, right? So if you can set out, and I like the way they did this because they made it deliberately. They didn't make it simple and easy, right? So you go in there and you could go in there with your white blouse or white dress and you could be wearing a bra, and that's definitely a choice. Or you can go in there with enormous nipples, and that's also a choice. And I think that having it be that choice and then having her go to dinner with the detective, which arguably she didn't need to do.
Yeah, right.
What else is she going to get out of it? And he was, I mean, clearly the body language, he's literally all over her. And instead of her going, you know what, that's enough, she's like, this is kind of fun. Yeah, let's finish it out.
And she's saying my ex-husband, so she's lying now. To
She's
get
laying it down. But that was
wanted
part of
to-
the plan, right?
Yeah,
But-
make her seem single and available.
But it's interesting to, I mean, then there's that moment, right? Maybe she's having a good time with it. And it's relatively harmless. She's not going to do anything with it, but...
I think what Julia said is correct. I think she is. And I think you even see, like, they're sitting looking at this Walgreens, trying to figure out what to do at the beginning. She's like, we could go drink and have sex all
Yeah.
night. She's into it. It turns her on.
Yeah, she's totally into it.
That's interesting, yeah. Yeah.
Like, the whole experience seems to turn her on, which is obviously... And they're starting to kind of lead us in. Now,
Well,
let's
that's how they got together. I'm sorry, last thought on
No,
that.
no,
That's how their relationship
started.
became a relationship. That's their shared experience, and that seems to be the only experience. I mean, yes, they have a family and things change, but this seems to be the common thread throughout their entire 10 years of a relationship. What else do they have?
So now, continuing to talk about their relationship in this episode, I think, and to me at least, this is the most jarring part of the episode, is the weird psychological flashback thing, where he's sitting there, the basically horror movie segment of this episode, where it started to happen, and I don't know if you guys felt the same, but I felt it was creepy as hell. I mean, it was getting to me. Like, just like her being young and saying this stuff, and some of the lines, there's one line she says, past, present, and future are a stubbornly persistent illusion, right? That's the one that stuck with me, because it starts to really tie together the three timelines in a way that you're like, okay, so what am I watching? How much of this is all memory, and then how much of this is really happening, right? It's the unreliable narrator stuff we were talking about last episode.
Yeah, the few quotes that I noted down were when she says, "Do you think you could just go on, and did you think you would never have to look back?"
What you left out in the woods.
She says, "Where
Some
is
business.
it?" He says, "Where is it?" Which I don't know what he's referencing to. And then he says, "How much do I have to lose?" Which she says, everything.
Yeah.
Like everyone else. And then she says, "Worried what they'll find, what you left in the woods, finish it." which is super cryptic.
Yeah, exactly.
And creepy, and then you start to wonder. You're like, so what happened? Is that what's driving him to drink in the middle of the day?
Well, it's
and what's his
also like,
job?
what does Amelia know too? Because we know that he hasn't read the book up until like 2015 is when he starts reading it, and it even says in 1990 when he's like trying to read it that he can't because he keeps seeing his name, and that goes back to that conversation that they had when they were walking, talking about the interpretation of the poem, where for her the interpretation is, you know, you don't say the name because once you say the name, that you associate yourself.
You separate
You
yourself
separate
from something
yourself,
when you
right.
name it. is
Right.
what she
Exactly.
says.
Yeah, and you can't separate yourself from time,
Right.
which to me you brought up in the last episode about, you know, all these tying together, time being a flat circle. It's all just sort of melding together a little bit in my mind, these ideas of time.
So now I think moving from that topic to the other one, which is really interesting, which is there are some maybe we'll save that part of it. But let's talk about him finding the dice, the set of die. The die that Nate and I as giant friggin' nerds.
All right.
Okay,
Yeah, I was
I'm
gonna
gonna
say.
remove myself from this part. I'm just gonna let you guys talk about this
gotta
because I have
say,
no idea what you guys are talking about.
My nerd level's like a 6
Yeah.
and a half. I
So go,
think where
boys.
you guys,
Oh, boy.
if to get those die, you guys don't. We had to pause it and go back while these guys counted the die, and we're like, well, what die are in there? And we're
I was like, Nate, did you see? I saw a 4, a 3, a 10.
D20.
Jules and I are like, yeah, there's dice,
just
man.
dice,
They're
right?
just dice. And
Right?
they're like,
Right, guys?
and the look on
Yahtzee.
his face, I don't know if you saw it, like Ben's
Oh.
face, like there was a moment of contempt for us, and then he covered it up real quick. And like, oh,
I was
you
like-
idiots don't know anything.
He was
I was
like,
like,
yes!
I was like,
He got super
Are you sure it was a
excited.
D20? He's like, yes, I saw 19. I was like, crit.
All right, can you give us a little background on what the heck
Please,
this means?
please, upgrade our nerddom.
Yeah.
I'll let you take this one away for
All right.
D&D stuff.
Well, okay, thanks. I'll take the bullet. So we see those die. More often than not, you don't see a D20, just a 20-sided die, outside of Dungeons and Dragons, which is what D&D is. If people didn't get that.
I know that part.
So the reason
You're
why
good,
I
you're
got
good.
excited when we saw the die was because I don't know if it was episode. I think it was
one.
episode 1. Yeah,
so.
when they're searching Charlie's room. There is a D&D book on the desk, which is called The Forest of Lang. Now, granted, I am a big nerd, and there's lots of other big nerds on the internet. I read a lot of Reddit, so if you post on Reddit, get at me. I'm going to read all your theories. But somebody on Reddit was talking about how that's not a real book. That's not, so they had to make that. So that really stuck out to me as something important. I still don't know what it means, but seeing the die reinforces that the fact that he plays Dungeons and Dragons is in fact important. So one of the questions that we got this episode, learning about the kids in this new spot where they were hiding, and the mixed couple and the brown car and all that stuff, is that I have the Boyle kid, they were not hanging out with the Boyle kid after school. They were doing something else. So this implication that they were going to play Dungeons and Dragons out there, that explains what those other toys were doing there. Often when people play D&D, they use miniatures and stuff. It makes sense for kids to use their own toys. And especially these are a bunch of toys that the parents never saw or purchased, so we're wondering where those came from. So it's just more questions, of course, but just another lead that I feel like is going to lead somewhere important.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was a Nate deep nerd dive.
Deep cut. So I will tell you, I'm not a Dungeons and Dragons nerd, but I play a significant amount of Magic the Gathering.
Oh,
And we
I did
use-
too back in the day.
It's way nerdier.
I don't
I'm
know
not
what
like-
this is either.
It's way
Oh,
nerdier.
It's a
Green Deck,
collectible
Green
card
Deck.
game. Yeah.
Guys, I was super cool doing musicals.
Yeah, there
okay?
you go.
Musical theater. I was really cool.
So you get a
So
spin
don't
down.
worry about it.
You can do both.
You get a spin down, which is a 20-sider when you play Magic at like an event. They'll get one, and so I have a lot of
Spin
these. But that's basically a 20-sider.
It's a life counter.
Yeah, it's a life counter. Exactly. They call them spin downs. Okay. I was playing earlier today, and I got a new spin down for the new set. Okay, let's move on. Anyway.
Oh, the nerd,
So,
the nerd. It's a very strong nerd table.
it's a
right
strong
now.
nerd table.
Am I?
So but that is a significant part of the show. Is the book, the fact that he finds the dice. That's a theme I think we're going to continue to see, and it's going to kind of connect us a little bit to the weird, culty, supernatural dolls in the woods stuff that reminds us of season 1. Stay tuned at the end of the episode. We are going to talk a little bit about that and some of the theories that go with the season 1 stuff. I want to talk quickly about our Vietnam vet garbage collector who gets accosted. Uncomfortable scene.
Yeah, that was a hard one to watch.
Whose side are you on this, guys? Do you think he's innocent and he's getting hassled? What do you
I think he's innocent.
Feels like it.
Although that bag looked very child body-like.
Well, I think it's supposed to, but I'm pretty sure it's filled with
I don't
long
think
guns.
it is,
I think it's
but
full
Well,
of
we know that
guns.
Julie's alive, and we know that they've already found
Yeah,
Char's
the body.
body. So
We don't know that Julie's alive. We know that her fingerprints were found.
Oh, yeah, that's
we
true.
find that later. Yeah, we don't know at that
Well,
point.
it'd be pretty weird if they were just
But we also
bringing
know that
hands
he doesn't
around
know
them.
where his kid. He says he doesn't know where his kids are.
Right.
Just gonna throw that out there.
Yeah.
Well, he said that in the
morbid, I
he
know.
said
Right,
that
yeah,
in
it's
the,
a little dark.
Throw it out
Little
there.
dark.
he said that in the interview because he said his wife
His wife
took
has
them
the kids,
away.
yeah.
Yeah, sure she did.
I don't like it's
Or
a
he
trip.
killed him and is hiding him in a bag.
No, I think it's like a bag of guns or something.
I think so too, but
it would make sense.
I don't know about you guys. I grew up in LA. It's a big town. There's not like vigilante justice is really not a thing. Like you don't do that because you go to the police and there's But I would imagine if you're out in the
People just don't care enough in LA.
It's a very bizarre place. But imagine if you're out in the middle of wherever and you're looking for the state police to come through if anything major crimes happens
Yeah.
and it's a much smaller place. Then maybe that is how you deal with
You
things.
take
Well,
matters
I mean,
in your own
it's a
Yeah,
hands.
you get
community-
3 or 4 trucks and you go chase them down.
Everybody more or less knows each other, and you have the news talking about missing kids, and they're going canvassing houses. So people are scared. They're scared for their kids, and when
Right.
everyone in the neighborhood knows that there's already like that one weird guy.
The Boo Radley.
And I'll tell you what,
Always Boo Radley.
that's the 1980s version of the Megan's Law list right now. And as soon as someone's on that stuff, like I live up in Santa Clarita, it's a bedroom community and it's all kids. And if someone that is on that offenders list moves up there, they make a stink about it. They will put him on. They'll put him in the paper. They'll get on. They'll march around.
Try to shame him.
Yeah. Get out. We don't want you. I mean, it's so this is the 80s version of it in a small town. I don't know whose side to be on that one.
Yeah, I mean the Vietnam Vet thing we talked about last episode. It was a lot of people were creeped out by these like sort of like loner, kind of quiet. We like people like a lot of PTSD. It was a thing. So last thing I want to ask you guys about before we kind of wrap up in the last bit of the episode
Oh
is
my goodness, it's over already?
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
so much to talk about.
we've got Steph Sabrab in the booth. Steph, how you doing? Didn't you hear us?
Maybe.
Maybe Steph is not in the booth.
All right.
We've been left alone. Well, maybe we can go a few minutes longer. What I want to ask you guys about is they go and visit this guy. He says he's been talked to by this guy in a brown sedan, and so
I don't think the brown sedan is the car that he saw driving.
sorry, he saw a
Yes,
brown
an
sedan.
Right.
upscale.
And he was
brown
talking
but
to-
some white man in a suit with a badge.
with a badge. But he sees the brown sedan and he sees a black man and a white woman driving around the neighborhood.
Black man with a
And-
scar.
Yep, and this is information that is getting also relayed in this conversation that's being had with Elisa, who seems to know. He seemed like he had a slightly more personal relationship to Hayes' son. Am I
Right.
wrong about that?
That
they seem to know
was
each
what-
other
yeah.
better.
The way that
The
they said each
director?
other's first names.
Yes.
To me, I read that as they know each other.
More than it seemed in the first episode.
Yeah.
You're right. So all that information is happening though, and they go to see this guy, and they ask if they can look in his place, and he's like, "You need a warrant for that." And he said, "If you make us get one, I think you're gonna have to, son." So is that guy? What's going on with that guy?
Well, I think everyone in that town, their privacy has been so invaded. When they were going to canvass the neighborhoods already, they said that they would make a big stink about it.
Right.
That people wouldn't want people wouldn't want the cops coming into their homes uninvited without warrants. So I think that's just sort of get out of my house.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything wrong. It's not your place. I just keep to myself. Some guy was already here and questioned me. Enough.
I also feel like race plays a role in that one. I absolutely.
Definitely.
Because the condescension in the guy's voice. I think that was
calls him son.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that. I mean, it's half a step from boy. I mean, I think that was that's gonna be a red herring. I don't think it's gonna have anything to do with him. But I think that just it's a good little what you call it, a little flavor for the time.
Yeah.
Like it definitely mattered that you were
I
white or
definitely
black.
gave him some good information through that
Yes.
scene.
Oh,
That
yeah.
may not pan out to anything, but
I mean, Pizzolatto is a fascinating writer because he investigates his topics like almost nobody does. Like he really does. He will go such the extra mile in terms of his preparation for his scripts and also the films he's written. And with this one, he's taken all this extra time to make it clear to us the time in terms of the relationships between race in a small town, the relationship between even the conversation when they're walking, and he says, funny how the protesters stopped once the draft ended. Like,
Oh, yeah.
even just the commentary on Vietnam soldiers in that moment. It's like so. He's trying to really put us in these characters' shoes in that time period. He doesn't want it to feel familiar. But I do have to tell you guys, I think I caught one inconsistency. I could be wrong about this, but I work in the toy industry, and when they're in Walmart, on the end cap, there's like this big thing of rainbow-colored balls. Did you see those?
I did.
They literally are the same heads from balls that are for sale today. And unless it's the exact same heads from balls that have been selling for 25 years in Walmart's on end caps, which is possible, by the way, I was like, those are new. That's literally for sale right now.
And you want to know how Walmart does that? Every year, Walmart wants to underbid that. It's a tough thing. It was a friend of mine's in buying. It was wild. They were talking about those balls specifically because if you sell X number of those balls, Walmart the next year will be like, all right, we're going to sell 15% more, but you got to drop the price. Blah, blah. It's a
Yeah, heads from cost nothing. Yeah,
tough scene. But you might be right, yeah.
Didn't know the ball industry was
Who
so
knew?
cutthroat.
Yeah.
Rainbow balls.
Cutthroat, Jack.
Got to get into the underground
I
market.
still play
of
with those
rainbow
at
balls.
the grocery store.
Do you ever buy one or you just play with them and
play
throw them
with them,
back?
throw it back in the
Throw it back in the basket.
Yeah, so anyway, but yeah, so I think that's all pretty interesting stuff, and how specific he is with what he writes. So
Can we just
Yeah.
bring up one
I've
thing
got
real
two
fast? Those
things I
little
wanna-
notes.
oh man, okay, yeah, go
The
ahead.
little
yes.
notes in
we haven't talked about them.
Julie's notebook. The notes that were
right.
all folded
Yep.
up. I'll always keep you safe. Don't listen. Have a good night in the Hoyt Foods bag.
Yeah.
I guess that and the picture. We have to talk about both of those things, right? Those are both pretty significant.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, find the
me out.
picture from the communion photo. I wasn't even going to say anything about that because I think it's weird, but it doesn't mean anything to me yet. I think we're going to get, especially from the next time on, where they're going to talk about that a lot next episode, but I just don't, like, it's weird,
The
but I don't
communion
know.
thing? Yeah, because like who
Yeah.
would have known the communion picture unless you're suggesting it's
It was
all
only 2 years
I want to make
ago.
sure.
Could have
Someone in
been,
the
you know,
church.
could have been Julie had some influence in that too. Julie recognized that
Yeah.
that's how you're supposed to pray when you're dead, or that's how you're supposed to look when you're praying or being
So-
holy, and maybe she wanted them to be posed that way.
I want to call attention to the bloody stone thing.
Yeah.
That leads me to believe that it may have been an accident.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
Also, the
Maybe.
fact that they moved the body, and then really quick, just how upset Hayes got in the 2015 timeline when she did bring forward all this new information and bringing up the car, which he then had the flashback to the treads and remembered. So I think that is really important. There's a reason why he got upset, and there's a reason why she was pushing the way that she was. And
There
I
were
think
a lot
that's
of-
why he
yeah.
said her name the way he did, because he could tell. It wasn't just like, oh, by the way, you missed this stuff. She was like, did you get everything?
Yeah.
Okay, you didn't get everything because you didn't get this. And they're like, whoa, 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 whoa.
So, Julia, let's just before we get to our prediction segment here, let's just talk about those notes. We find these notes in this book, and I wrote a couple of them down, right? One of them says...
I've got, it's
Always
all
keep
right,
you
don't
safe.
listen, I'll always keep you safe. Or the ones I
Yeah,
wrote
it's
down.
okay, don't listen, I'll always keep you safe, and I'm always here is the last one I wrote down.
And then if you remember the note that was sent, with the letters, that said, "Do not worry, Julie is in a good place and safe." So I think this whole thing has
Right.
been about Julie more than anything, about the little girl,
Right.
and that the children should laugh. I forget. I can't read
So
my writing
perhaps
here.
the person that wrote the note had a relationship already, and those notes were written to her by that person who maybe abducted her. Maybe it's less of an abduction than we think. It's culty stuff. That's probably a good time to get into predictions.
Yes.
Actually. What does it all mean?
What does it all mean?
Oh goodness! Oh, I forgot about
And
predictions.
now, your AfterBuzz TV
I
predictions.
literally started to expound on mine just now, so I'll just continue it.
Yeah, keep going.
And I think it's that those notes have something to do with the note and the person that wrote the note, and I don't think it was an abduction as much as some sort of weird run away with me cult thing. Because Dungeons and Dragons and the role playing side of it, that's what it feels like to me.
I get some of that too. I don't think it's going to be culty. I think it's going to be related to the family in some way. I don't know if maybe it's a real mom or real parent or something trying to lure them away from the family or something of that nature. I just feel like there's something up with the family. I think the D&D thing is going to play out some way. I'm not sure what. I'm also really curious about what was that place called? The Ozark Children's Outreach Center? Something?
Yeah.
Yes,
I need to
I
watch
was
that
gonna
scene
say
again 'cause
that.
there's something going on there.
For sure.
And also, this whole thing just stinks of cover-up. We keep hearing about people being talked to twice and information not being shared. We've already seen that they've been having issues coordinating with, their higher-ups in the county and the FBI and all that stuff. So I'm just curious to see where that goes.
I'm kind of agree with what you're saying. I'm really suspicious about the Ozark Children's Outreach Center, how and the director harkened back to VIP pedophile rings, which, you know, could be pretty far stretched, but now the big VIP of Hoyt Foods is out on safari for a long time. So I don't know how deep this goes or how long they've been targeting Julie since the mother did work there. So maybe they've had her eye on her and luring her for a while. I'm also really interested to find out how Amelia died.
Yeah, agreed.
Because that seemed to happen a while ago. They're not that old. So it's not of natural. I mean, it could be. Who knows? It doesn't feel like it's, you know, of old age.
Flippo, what do you got?
All right. This is my bold prediction. I don't know enough about Eliza, the director of the documentary. I think Eliza might be Julie.
I had that thought too.
I think the ages are right. I think the coloring's right. I think our girl Eliza.
It would be 25 years later.
Because her investment, and she would have been right in her mid 30s.
Yeah.
Seems about right. And her investment seems very, very personal.
Yeah.
Like intensely personal. So that would be my.
I like it.
That would be my. Is Eliza Julie?
Weirder things have
Prediction.
happened.
Guys, where can the folks find you?
Guys, you can find me everywhere. I talk like Dave. I went for it.
All right,
Do
I
it.
like it. Twitter, Instagram, Julia Cearley, JuliaCearley.
And you can find me at Joe Filippo on the Twitters. My website is josephsanfilippo.com.
You guys can find me at Ben Bateman Media. We'll be back same time, same place next week. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching,
guys.
Bye, guys.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.